Loving Father, please be with us right now as we enter into this part of our study. Bless everyone listening and help everyone to practice this important thing that we're talking about. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. You are the one that will do the exercising of showing this for yourself. And I want to show you some of these things that have been happening all over the world because they're very terrible. We know we are living in the very last days of this earth's history. And in living in these very last days of the earth's history, the Bible warns us of horrible sights and signs will be from heaven upon the face of the earth. And these signs are given by God not to terrify us, but to warn us. But it means we should be terrified. Because when we notice that you're walking on the ground, and not even the ground is secure anymore, do you know what that means for the individual? Brethren, I am telling you this. I am really very sorry, even for Trinidad and Tobago. Because this country, halfway between the country, is a deep split below the earth. So that we know one thing for sure, Trinidad and Tobago is in danger of being breaking into two. And the southern part sinking. That's the reason why if you go out at the south of Trinidad and Tobago, out in the sea, you'll see mango trees out in the sea itself. Because the place is actually sinking. Let me tell you this. We live in a time when the world is coming to an end. And as the world is coming to an end, we are warned that we will see signs of the coming end. First of all, let me talk to you about this planet that we are on. When animals die, the death of those animals symbolize human beings' death. Because animals have a tendency to teach a lot about human beings. So when animals die, these things portray a lot of human deaths that are going to take place. The earth has been changing and things are ceasing to be how they were before. I got this document and I'm quoting for you. First, let's start with Scotland. Ready? Yes. Seabird populations in Scotland are continuing to fall dramatically. According to a new report published by the Scottish National Heritage, over a 25-year period, they have seen a drop in more than 50%. From 1986 to 2011, the numbers of seabirds breeding in Scotland dropped by around 53%, continuing a downward trend over recent years. The worst hit species included the Arctic squirrel, down 74%, the Arctic tern, which fell by 72%, and the black-legged kittiwake down by 66%. Now here's the point. Since 2011, massive amount of birds have been dying even in Scotland. So that birds will be flying in the air, you will see that, these seabirds, they're flying in the air over the sea and they just suddenly drop dead into the sea. Nobody has been able to tell us what has caused that. But something terrible has been taking place in the earth. Another thing that we have found out is that in Australia and in Brazil, there have been a massive coral reef die out. Even the coral reef in Tobago is dying. Now what does this mean? Coral reefs are kept alive by nutrients in the sea, and they provide nutrients for other fishes and other species under the sea. But now, all over the world, a phenomenon has taken place. Coral reefs are turning yellowish white and then white. When that happens, the coral reefs all over the world are dying off. And the world's largest coral reef, which can be seen from outer space, is in Australia. Strange enough, that one has now started to die. In other words, the biggest tourist area in Australia is about to become extinct. Because coral reef, there's a massive diet of coral reef, including Australia. And listen to me carefully. Already, hear me, already more than half, how much more than what? Half of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia has died. With the deaths accentuated in 2011 and this year, 2012. Next thing. We here in Trinidad is part of the Southern Caribbean. Part of the Southern Caribbean also is places like Guyana, Grenada, Barbados is southeast. The shocking thing about it is the sardine fisheries in the Southern Caribbean have collapsed. 87% of the sardines have gone. So if you are a fisherman and you're looking to get sardines out in the ocean, off Trinidad, or off Guyana, or off Suriname, or off Barbados, forget it. Because the sardine fisheries in the Caribbean has collapsed. And in the last 10 years, things have got worse, and recently 2011 to 2012. Also, the Venezuelan sardine catches have dropped from 200,000 tons to just 40,000 tons. That just shows how terrible things are going on. In fact, we are being told that the oceans are running out of fish. There are now huge tracts in the ocean. Wherever you look, no fishes. Before, you would see in those underwater films about those underwater documentaries, you would see millions of fish moving all together. Now that is ceasing to exist. What has been happening is that since 2011, a lot of the fishes have been dying, some under the ocean, and they sink below the ocean floor. Some alone come to shore, and that's how come we have seen the millions of fishes on the shore dying there. But while some has died on the shore, you must remember, and you see millions here on the shore, even more millions have died there. Below, underneath. So we are told oceans are running out of fish. There's another terrible thing that has taken place. The whales that we have yet remaining, their population is falling to the extent that whales are increasingly strangling themselves. What does this mean? It means whales moving in the ocean, like if they seem to get out of the ocean and they drive themselves ashore. Now you know a whale has plenty weight, and once it comes ashore, the weight of it crushes its lungs. So that's why they can't live long on land. And we are told hundreds of whales, some in Australia, Tasmania, New Zealand, Indonesia, Taiwan, and other places are suddenly seeing an increasing amount of whales just beaching themselves and dying. People will take them, sometimes tie hooks and then take ships and pull them back out into the ocean and let them go, only for the whales to leave and come back again. Like if they flee in the ocean. So this is the next thing that has happened. To the point that only 100 codfish have been left in the North Sea. From codfish, from millions and millions of codfish, only 100. Did you see what's going on here? Next thing again. Recently, in 2011, they have noticed a huge fall in shark numbers. Because we usually have many different kinds of sharks. Hammerhead sharks, you know, the white shark, the great white shark, the other smaller cousin to it. Now, they have found that what they call the top predator of the undersea ecosystem, sharks, are now becoming extinct because a large number of shark numbers have now been depleted. Where have they gone? Nobody knows, but we know one thing for sure. If this is the ocean, and you have fishes die in the ocean, the sea wash some ashore, some of the rest sink right down below. And a lot of deaths are taking place. So much. Listen to me. Giant squid. A giant squid is something that doesn't live close up to the surface. And it is a deep sea creature. Yet on one of the shores in Europe, we have had thousands of giant squid dead. Where did they die? They died way out there in the ocean and drifted where? Ashore. But that doesn't explain how come just those few came ashore, which is still plenty. What happened to the rest? Many of them died and sank under the sea. So there's a huge, a lot of those squids are dying. As for North America, let me tell you something. Since 2011, now they started to lose fish before that, but since 2011, freshwater fish in the United States of America is a scarcity. Meaning, if you're living in America and you go in a river and try to catch fish, you hardly see the fish. Because millions of them have died already and rotted from since 2011. So now much of the rivers in North America have no fish in them. In fact, there are some rivers, absolutely not even one fish, they've all died out. So freshwater fish is becoming extinct in the United States of America. Now in the penguin, you have the emperor penguin, that's the big one, and you have the smaller penguin. The smaller penguin have been more populous. Another thing has happened now, the small penguin is now on the big brink of extinction. You've had millions and millions of them existing in Antarctica. Now, the small breed of penguin are now dying out. So that apart from that, penguin population generally have dropped by 36%. By how much? 36%. They are all just dying out. Why? What's going on? Nobody knows. A strange new thing has happened. And that is, now most of the fish that have been found on the earth has been found to have a cancer called melanoma. And 15% of fish found now have a dangerous kind of fish cancer. But the shocking thing is that they have now found oysters with herpes in the sea. Oysters with herpes. And the herpes they have is a dangerous kind, worse than the one that human beings have. And you know those unscrupulous vendors? Do you think they will take our oyster and not give it to you all? So now, fish have been developing a very terrible cancer, and oysters now have herpes. We have not found out where that came from, what has caused that. Did I tell you all? Almost, watch me. Are you listening to me now? Are you listening to me? Amen. Listen to the shocking one. 75%, how much? 75% of bees in the United States of America is now infected with a parasite that turns them into zombies. Zombies. This is the reason why beehives all over America are crashing. Just now, honey is going to become rare in the world. I advise you, if you could get any good honey, start buying it for yourself. Use it while it is here, because bees, 75% of the bees in the United States of America have been found to be infested with a new parasite never before seen. This parasite is a fly that lays its eggs on the body of the bee. When the eggs hatch, the worms go into the bee, live in the bee, and slowly eat out their insides. Until one day the bee just stopped moving and remain how it is. So 75% of the bees. Now, in the United Kingdom or the United or in Britain, since 2011, there have been a great decline in butterflies in the United Kingdom or in Britain. 40% of the number have died over the last few years, and then a shocking thing happened. In 2011, we had a small ice age in Britain and in Europe, where there was ice everywhere. Guess what it did? It wiped out much of the butterfly population. So now, if you go in the countryside in Britain and you see flowers, don't even hope to see a butterfly. And if you see one butterfly, you see plenty. So in other words, the whole things are changing. Not only as the bees have been hit with diseases, that more than 6.7 million bats have developed a kind of something looking like what we would call, let me explain here to you. Now you know the AIDS virus works. When the AIDS virus reaches a certain extent in a human being and it has destroyed the immune system, you begin to develop a kind of cancer called Kaposi sarcoma. It's a kind of mauvish spots on your skin, and your mouth begins to develop something called thrush, a kind of white furry kind of thing in your mouth that smells very awful. When a person reaches that stage, the next stage is death. All of a sudden, 6.7 million bats die with that kind of white thing in its mouth. We're not saying they have AIDS, but this is a new disease. None of the scientists understood about. But bats all over the West have been dying. There are times, even in Trinidad, where you see bats moving all over the place. Remember that? Do you see it so again? No. You see it very few. But if you think it's bad here, check the United States of America. Most of their bats population have been killed. They have died through that kind of disease taking place. Also, the shocking thing about it is, you and I still see a lot of frogs. Is it not so? We still see a lot of frogs moving all over the place. Frog population in the United States of America is dying out. There are very few frogs. Now when they destroy that ecosystem, some of them kill a lot of insects, so insects will multiply out of control. Some of them pollinate flowers, so what happens? A lot of fruits will cease to grow, the flowers will just drop off. So America is in a crisis. The bees are dying, the bats are dying, the frogs are dying. As for Europe, 50% of the birds have been killed out in Europe. 50% of the birds have been killed out. Especially, listen to me, right? Turtle doves, lapwings, birds like that that just seem flying and just crash into the ground. They just die, they just fly and they just drop dead. This has been happening all over Europe. As a result of that, Europe is in a bird crisis. Listen to me again. Earthworms. Does the earthworms do a good job? Yes. Listen to me. I have got pictures, watch me now, of millions of earthworms just crawl out of the ground in piles and die. Now, how is that happening? Millions of earthworms crawl out of the ground and just die like that. It's one of the most sackiest, sickest pictures to see. Look at the common roach. In New York alone, they found millions of roach dead. Roach are something that is hard to kill. Roach we know could survive in a place that has heavy radiation. Yet millions of roaches have been found dead, and those are people saying can't go.
But I would say that polar bears.
Yes, polar bears are also dying out.
In Alaska.
In Alaska, yes. It's so much that they're now telling us that polar bears will become extinct before you know. Certain breeds of rhinoceros are becoming extinct. Certain breeds of hippos are becoming extinct. Listen to me. China faced such a terrible crisis. Do you know what happened in China? Now the Chinese are people, this is what they have done. They have taken large areas inland, surrounded it with certain kind of blocks, and had plenty of water, and were growing all kind of fish. Fish for consumption. Do you know what happened? Overnight, mysteriously, the Chinese fish industry was wiped out. All over the country. And guess what? The shocking thing is, all over the country, all the rivers suddenly brought millions of dead fish. So who killed the fish that they were growing for human consumption? And who killed the fishes that were in the rivers? I have pictures of, watch me, river after river after river in China, packed with dead fishes. So that now, if a Chinese say, well, he's going to fish, they're going to have fish on the river to eat. No fish. Let me tell you something. Huge tracts of land, as far as the eye could see. Those people who study about insects went and checked those forests and those lands and found not a bee, not a butterfly, not a bird. Where has it gone? It comes like the whole forest is becoming extinct of insects and birds. What's your next shocking thing again too? Have you ever, some of you have heard of Monsanto, right?
Yes.
Now Monsanto has taken various seeds, genetically engineered them, and farmers have been using them. Before, the birds, the bees, different insects and butterflies would go and normally land on the flowers of those things. They don't usually. But scientists have discovered a new thing taking place. Wherever Monsanto crops are, no insects are going off. No birds are going off. So do you know what that means? All these animals themselves have recognized that these things are not safe to get anywhere near to, that they have now forsaken them. Let me tell you this. The government didn't tell you this. Hundreds of Indian farmers have committed suicide.
Yes.
Sorry, I should have said $250,000. Indian farmers have committed suicide. Just because they have lost their farm produce. $250,000 farmers in India have committed suicide. They have lost their farm produces. The farms are not producing anymore. Did you see what's going on, my dear brethren? If you don't think you live in the end of this world, you need to think again. But then something new has started to happen. The shocking thing about it is the media has suddenly dropped silent about many of these things. You don't really get it in the media, so you have to know how to look for them. But then something else suddenly started happening. Listen to me carefully, my dear brother. Something has suddenly started happening. You remember we had some films on television that showed weird songs being heard in the air?
Yes, yes.
Like huge, gigantic machines grinding and so on, all over. Those songs have continued unabated all over the world. Now a new song has been added all over the world. This song is very strange, and it gives, and if you are there when you hear it and see it, strange things keep happening. Like for instance, you'll be walking, all of a sudden you hear like a clap, boom together. And when you hear a clap, boom, you see a big light flash all around you. And all of a sudden, cars start shaking, alarms start going off, waves in the house start falling, pictures start falling, and then it stops immediately. This has started to happen all over the place. Let me read one of the cases for you here. May, between 10:30 p.m. on Sunday night and the next morning at 8:30 p.m. local time for 4 counties in southwest Michigan, something highly strange caused booms loud enough to provoke residents to call the police and fire department. So they just start hearing boom like an explosion, boom like an explosion, boom like an explosion, and it kept going on over the night. So they called police and the fire department. The reports came from people in Calhoun, Branch, Kalamazoo counties. Residents said it was like a large clap of thunder on a clear dry day. So, 2 trees, tall, going up into the sky by themselves in Kalamazoo County. All of a sudden, a big boom, like a slap and a light flash, and the 2 trees, like something invisible hit them, they broke and fell. 50 to 20 feet remained in the ground, and 40 feet was on the ground. So 15 to 20 feet remained standing back, and 40 feet was on the ground. So like as the thunder clapped all of a sudden, a big light flash, and the 2 trees just broke off and fell on the ground. Up till this day, scientists don't know what caused it. People said their houses just suddenly shook and led them to believe that there was an explosion. But when the police checked, nobody blew up the trees. No explosion and no explanation as to what caused that. Now, all of a sudden, these things started happening all over the world. In Ottawa, Canada, they're already having this terrible hum, this loud humming sound that troubled them. Now they start hearing a low frequency rumbling, and as it started to rumble, the window panes start to shake, objects start to fall off the shelf, and hundreds of people in Windsor and Ottawa have not been able to sleep in the night. So they had to call their mayor and ask them to explain and find out where the sounds are coming from, because the sound was so horrible. Hundreds of residents were being deprived of sleep. You'll be lying down in your house and this hum keeps going on, and you hear your glass fall on and break, your picture fall on and break, and all these things keep happening. Nobody has been able to explain where these sounds are coming from and what is going on. New Brunswick, Canada again, close to the main border. The small town have been plagued by what they call earthquake storms. And no one knows why. The first quake measured 2.4. It woke people up at 1:40 a.m. on March the 10th. Then a 1.4 aftershock hit 3 minutes later. But the shocking thing to the people is that this is not earthquake like earthquake. Because you and I may be here and they will just hear the earth just start shaking like that. They keep hearing the boom, the loud boom like a thunder, a big flash of lightning, and then suddenly the place started shaking, showing people off their bed. And people reported seeing a strange light. And since then there have been 40 additional quakes and incidents like that. So you'll be lying in your bed and there's this big boom. And all of a sudden everything shakes and you fall off your bed. This has happened all of a sudden in Canada. Brethren, watch this. Boston, Massachusetts. Where?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Friday and Sunday. Same boom in the areas, And same flash of light suddenly happening. Clintonville, Wisconsin. Now the good thing is that at least somebody was able to take this song, because you don't know when the song's coming, right? So you wouldn't know when to have on some tape. But somebody was able to take this one, and I heard this one. I'll tell you what it sounds. It sounds like if somebody had an explosion on the ground, a muffled boom. But it sounds horrible. You can hear it clear. With it came a flash of lightning, and they called the police. The police searched, they found nothing. So they also said it may have been an earthquake, but seismologists in the area said there was no reports of earthquake anywhere. None of the machines show earthquake. Yet the whole place was shaking, and yet these sudden booms were heard in Clintonville. San Diego, California, same thing, shaking, loud noise, boom. Nobody could explain. Oxfordshire, England,
Same thing.
Burford, Banbury, North Newington, Swindon, Warwick, loud booms. People shout, shake, house shake. Things fall out. No explanation. Where it come from, what's going on. Netherlands. Boom again. Police call. Nobody understood what. Pennsylvania. Right? Pocono, Pennsylvania. Same thing. On and on and on as we're going on. A lot of these strange things have been going on. A flash, a boom, the place shake, cars suddenly go off with their alarms, trees suddenly just fall like that. Nobody is seen hitting it, just like something invisible hitting, fall on the ground. And these things have been happening over and over to the point, listen to me. I have, let me show you something here. I have 48 pages of testimony. 48 pages all over the world. Do you see what's going on, my dear brethren? These are some of the horrible things that have been taking place all over the world as we come closer to the end. Now, what was the most likely theory? The most likely theory that some have been saying is that it seems as if there are certain rocks and bands under the earth that are breaking. And the flash of light, the force, the violence of the break is so much that it's like if they hit something and they give a flash of light, that the flash of light has been all out. That's what they have been saying. Now let us assume that they are right, because they are all coming from the ground. Now this is not the horrible sound that we were talking about, okay? This is a different one. These different sounds, with this big boom, and then the flash, and then things start to shake and fall. A new thing now taking place all over the United States, all over different parts of the world. First time seen in history. The theory is that something is taking place under the earth. And brethren, we know it. That's why I showed you in one day alone. How much?
1 day.
694 sinkholes appeared in one place of China alone. We're not talking about other places. One day alone, 694 sinkholes. Yes. Something terrible is taking place in the earth. The earth itself is being destroyed. And the Bible prophesied that there will be a great earthquake such as never was, where islands will break up, mountains will sink. We are now beginning to see these things happening. Let me tell you something. You know what is the tragedy? Do you know what is the tragedy of Japan? Yeah, what is the tragedy of Japan? For some strange reason, the islands that make up Japan is porous underneath. They didn't hear that. Huge, gigantic holes filled with lava. Under Japan. The Japanese are literally living on a lava country. One of the worst volcanoes in the world is not just in not Krakatoa of Indonesia, but is Mount Fuji in Japan. We have been warned by scientists. The day Mount Fuji explodes, that's it for the country of Japan. The whole country is gonna, listen, Mount Fuji is in the north. This is the north. Mount Fuji is the north part of the country of Japan. There are plenty of islands. The moment Mount Fuji explodes, here is what is supposed to happen. Japan's supposed to sink like this, and all that waves are supposed to come way down, causing tsunamis, hitting all over the place. But something strange happened in Japan. I might say it was a divine intervention. I'm only saying that because it seems it could have only been that. The shocking thing is, Mount Fuji did start to explode. There was, in 2012, just recently, new evidence that it was exploding, to the point that they saw fire and lava coming out. Then something strange happened. All this was caught on film, and I viewed the film. The volcano is exploding. Suddenly, a huge light appeared at the foot of the volcano. When I tell you a huge light bigger than this house, it was so bright, a camera and a business from far caught the light. And it was white, something like a sun. A huge, huge light appeared at the foot of the volcano. And in looking at it, this is what you would see. You will see smaller beams of light coming out of the light, moving at the speed of light. Nobody has any machinery that can move that fast. And I view it in film. I'll tell you what you'll see, over and over moving. As a result of that, disappeared, volcano stop exploding. History might show us when we go to heaven, that holy angels save the country. Because saving them for the gospel is saving many of us. Because already they showed you on film huge cities in Japan were floating on water. You're walking in a city and the city doing like this, floating on water. Huge cities. That earthquake and tsunami that hit them was the worst thing that could happen. Including the fact that Japan is sinking. Indonesia, watch me, has sunk 20 feet. You heard what I just tell you? That's about the height of this building. Indonesia has sunk 20 feet. New Zealand is sinking. 11 islands have disappeared. 2 in the Chesapeake Bay in the United States of America. Some in the South Pacific and some in India. I have watched video footage of people walking on the ground where their houses are, there's water right through, sea water. There's no place to walk and lie down anymore. Huge islands have sunk. We are therefore living in the end of this age when a lot of trouble is coming. And I have one last thing to hit you with. While that is going on, what has your President Obama been doing? October the 25th, 2012. When? First of all, they have found something strange. The northern border of the United States, bordering with Canada, have been terribly protected. If you're trying to break into America from Canada, hard. But is it not shocking that the southern border with Mexico have been left open? And instead of sending soldiers and National Guard to protect it, they have left it open and a lot of Mexicans are now coming over. The shocking news is hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers have been stationed on Mexican soil to invade the United States from the south. You know they're planning globalism. hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers have been stationed in Mexico. They come from Mexico into the United States of America. But that's not all. Yes.
Last year, recently put red down so same exactly.
There was a plan laid to bring military revolution to the United States if Mitt Romney had won the elections. I was shocked to find out this, that they had planned, had Mitt Romney won the elections, they was not going to take it lying down. There would have been a military revolution. Listen to this. Here is what had happened. In the United States of America, there's hundreds of thousands of people. They are called doomsday preppers. Or doomsday preparers, but they call it for short doomsday preppers. These people have a lot of food store, a lot of water store, a lot of medicine store, and since the US Constitution gives them the right to bear arms, they have weapons stored up. They say in case of trouble, they want to protect themselves and they want to make sure that America survives. Yours truly, Obama, has written a plethora of executive orders signed during his term, which have dismantled our Constitution piece by piece, including the martial law implementing the National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order, which gives the President the power to confiscate citizens' private property in the event of any national emergency, including economic. The shocking thing is that they spoke to the soldiers, US soldiers, and asked them if they would be prepared to shoot their own people in America. Many of the soldiers said they're not going to do it. They are told that those soldiers that said no is to be treated as traitors. Those doomsday preppers are to be called and treated as terrorists. They were trained to call them terrorists. And they were told that they have to go house to house, take away their arms, and send them in re-education camps. All that in the United States of America. Many of these, let me quote one soldier what he said when they told him about shooting your own people. He says, "I'm sorry, I do not believe in suicide." Meaning if you do that, you know you'll get killed. Right. So the point is, the Department of Homeland Security has purchased billions of rounds of ammo, but the department even went so far as to begin classifying further purchases, blacking out bullet figures it is using taxpayers' money to buy. So they try to hide from the taxpayers how much bullets they buy with taxpayers' money. FEMA has gotten billions of dollars in bulk food and tin food and has stored them up for a big crisis. So that a lot of, let me give you an example. One fellow who is called a doomsday prepper, which means to say he hasn't committed no crime, he just store up his food and everything. He was traveling to go to Japan. Halfway through to Japan, he reached Hawaii. So it's from California, it's what? If it goes from New York to California, California to Hawaii, Hawaii, of course, to Japan. When he reached Hawaii, they informed him that your name was on a terrorist no-fly list. And so, he was thrown off the plane in Hawaii. So he couldn't go on his journey. All that happened is that he was just known as one person who is preparing for doomsday. So while the world is being destroyed all around, the United States of America has now deteriorated from being a republic to a democracy and towards a dictatorship. And I tell you, I had video footage in my hand of a hit list prepared by the president and his top men in the defense part of the United States administration. And I have seen names on this hit list. I was favored by God to actually see a video with this hit list. And names on this hit list, a lot of them are Muslims. But the surprising thing is that the list has reached over 3 million, and many of them are American citizens in the United States of America. A hit list is a list of people carded for assassination. And all this is going on in yours truly, the United States of America. Brethren, I am telling you this, while destruction is taking place all over the earth, and a lot of strange things are happening in many different countries, while the end is coming very, very closer, some of you are not being serious about your own development. Some of you think that the next day will be okay, and then the next day will be okay, and then the next day will be okay. And probably when I get to be an old man, dying and getting them, then I'll accept Christ. We have news for you. In your generation, the change is coming. Don't expect to get old before it happens. Are you listening to me? A strange thing happened in the sun. Since late 2011, a lot of sun flares have been suddenly acting up in the sun. But these sun flares are of a different quality. It's not the average sun flare. It has been observed to be spinning like a whirlwind, going for thousands of miles out of the sun. Never before seen. I have seen a lot of them with my eyes. All of a sudden, a new thing has happened. A small sun flare, but something bad has happened to the earth. The scientists have said there is something called CMEs, this is solar flares, and there's something called GLE, which is ground level enhancement. Now, if you were to have some of the machinery they have, you would see high energy particles just suddenly explode like that on the ground. Now you can't see it with your naked eye. They have to have certain machinery to see high energy particles lift up, light up, and explode. They need neutron monitors on Earth to see it. But the point about it is, this is not supposed to happen like that. Now a new thing is happening again. You have low-level flares from the sun. Notice we talk about the large ones, right? Now all of a sudden a new kind of sun flare is coming about. But this kind of sun flare is not like any that have been seen. It's a low-level sun flare, and when it takes place on the earth, there's high energy particles exploding on the ground. What? Nobody knows what does that mean and what's going on. So you and I may be walking, watch. And as you're walking, and the sun is normally shining. There's a small sun flare which we can't even see because they're not even watching at the sun. And these high energy particles start to explode on the ground where you walk in and you don't even see it. You don't even know. This is a new phenomenon now starting to take place. Brethren, what can we say? No, you wouldn't feel it. But nobody knows what it will cause or what it will do or what will happen as a result of that. It's something new. We're now discovering it. So as a result of that, to say, well, look, we know it will cause this, we don't know as yet. This has just now started. Brethren, do you see the kind of world you're living in? And every day new things are being discovered. We say these things for you to know that we are living in a dying planet. You didn't hear what I just said? You are living where? In a dying planet. And it is a clear sign that Jesus Christ is coming very soon. When we spoke to you about this morning, about the living core of the gospel, which we will touch again, you haven't heard half of the story yet about this. When we spoke to you about this, the aim in giving you this, my dear brethren, was to make you have confidence that you know the gospel. Have confidence that Christ is in you. Have confidence that God is in you. And have confidence that you are secure while the world is falling all around us. Very good. And it is still your sacred duty to make sure you have assurance before God that you are acceptable before God. Because Christ in you, what does the Bible say? It's our only salvation. Amen, brethren? We know that the radio program and the television programs have done quite a great work. As I stand here all over the place, look at a drunkard, this guy is a drunk. He's so drunk, he can't even talk about it. But when he's sober, he's telling me he watched a television program. So the television program has gone far and wide and reached quite a lot of people. That's right. As a result of that, some of them start looking at our website and looking at some of these studies that we are having here that is put on the internet. So our viewership has begun to rise. When you check the amount of people viewing our programs that are on the internet, the viewership has begun to rise. Something big is going on. We are asking you, my dear brethren, you need to pray for your church. Because death is at our doorsteps all around. You need to make sure that you are ready with whatever comes. Is that understood, my dear brethren? Go out in the night, look up at the stars, and see how things are changing. There's something strange. The sky is not the benevolent sky you knew. There's something dangerous and deadly about it. Because changes are taking place, and you need to secure yourself in Christ, and these changes are taking place. You see how much time we have begged, and warned, and preached, and presented? When would you change in your situation? When would you make things better for yourself? When would you have hope for yourself? When would you stop giving up on your own self? Because God hasn't given up on you. As long as you're in the land of the living, He has plans for you. Amen? It's up to you if you let Him give you those plans and make you become different.
That's right.
Yes, brother.
I just want to say, brother, I thank God for what is being shared here this evening, because I've sat here and I've listened to all that has been said, and the Holy Spirit has impressed me to just read Hosea chapter 4, verses 1 to 3, because this is exactly what you're talking about here. And there are so many people that I have met on a daily basis who wants to know about these things, and we are privileged here to be able to share this with them. And I just want to read the first few verses, and it says, "Hear the word of Yahweh, ye children of Israel. For you have had a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, no knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish. With the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. I just thought I would share this as well too, because I've been meeting with people who are not Christians, and I've been sharing what we have been learning here, and they are interested to know these truths. While at my home I've been trying to share it with family members, and they would say, well, yeah, what you're saying is true, but the kind of ignorance they have, they're rejecting it just the same. So you have people who want to hear the truth, and we are privileged here to be able to do that, and I just want to encourage every one of us, as much opportunity as we get to share the truth with people, we need to do it as quickly as possible, because we see how late time is. So I just thought I'd share that.
Amen. Let me just say one more thing again too. Think about this. I am describing something from a sci-fi movie. Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
I am describing something from a sci-fi movie. Tell me if this is indeed a sci-fi movie. A teacher is in school with children in the United States of America. And she's teaching the children. And there are tiles on the ground. Big tiles. But the tiles are not the kind, it is the kind of like, how kind of plastic tile like? That is the ground big one, plastic tile like. So as the teacher is teaching the children, they suddenly heard a boom. Place him a little shake and that's it. So as she continued teaching the children, all of a sudden, the children in the school begin to cry out in horror. Because the tiles just start to buckle so.
What?
Right, so from flat, the tiles start to buckle and start to fly off the ground and pitch up in the sky. That they had to scuttle all the children outside. Up to now, the scientists don't know what caused that. Do you think I was really speaking a sci-fi movie? Absolutely not. It literally took place in America. Think about the next man hearing a boom, and his house literally what? Live off the ground and come back down. Now we are having a lot of strange things taking place all over the world. And you're going to hear more phenomena taking place as we come closer to the end. Yes.
What really happened?
She asked what happened with that. It was a geological phenomenon. But we do not know what it is. But it was strange. It happened in a classroom with children in the United States of America, 2012. Of a lot of strange things that happened. So, we are told to be watchmen on the walls of Zion, okay?
Amen.
We'll keep watching and informing you, right, brethren?
Yes. Copy. Watch out with work. Copies.
I'm not here.
Copy.
Oh, you talk about copies. Alright, I will make it available to you, alright? Just wait until next week and make it available to you. Yes, my dear.
I have with me some of the brethren here.
Not here, right?
I have with me some of the brethren.
Yes.
And when you're talking, they're making statements like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this thing happening. So late time is. This is indeed the time of the end. And making statements like that, right?
Yes.
And when you hear those kind of things, you recognize how late time is.
Yes.
And how short you have to prepare for what is going to come.
What is going to come, that's right.
Because sometimes when you look at these things, and sometimes in the face of natural disasters, people get so discouraged and they lose faith and so on. So it is really, thank God that at least you tell us these things that we'll be able to prepare Now what I want to say too is that the television program, some of the things are on the television program, and some of us...
So don't miss Sunday. Don't miss Sunday. Listen, let me show you something. Sorry about the interruption.
Yes, no problem.
You are actually going to see in a town hundreds of thousands of mice invade this town everywhere, as far as the eye could see. All of the people clothes and all the kind of thing all over. And let me tell you something, no science fiction, science reality. So make sure you check out the television program. We're going to show you everything there. All of a sudden, a strange new spider. Listen to me. And I know some of you don't like spiders. A strange new spider appeared out of nowhere. Scientists have never seen before. In India, if you please. They just start coming out of the ground and attacking people. And listen to me, listen to the nature of the attack. Listen to the nature of the attack. It will rush on you and bite you. You're trying to kill it, it's just attacking you, it's not running from you. 2 people died. And when it finished biting you, big holes in the skin showing your bones. Watch your television program Sunday coming and call people to watch. Okay, baby? It's all recorded here. What do you say? Signs that we're living in the end of this world issue. Okay? Now, in closing, our brethren in Pakistan has now opened out a new area preaching, and they said it was an area that had a lot of Roman Catholics. It got a lot. It's a whole village of Catholics. A whole village of Catholics. It was hard for them, but they're getting through. They have sent pictures of their success as they're now reaching there. Remember, they carry the truths that we give here on the Sabbath and so on to these people. And they have asked us to pray for them, for their success. Okay, brethren? Okay, and I was so happy, you know, when it was my birthday, I am walking and the phone calls. And when I hear the phone, I'm Middle Eastern voice from Pakistan. Pastor Shabazz called me and we should be happy with it. Amen, brethren? Is that wonderful? It's good to know that we have brethren on the other side. What do you say? Alright? And that the work is going forward. What do you say? Right? So pray for them. And not just only that. The government has decided to help us again with funds for the building. But somebody on the inside seems to be working against us. So the lady is coming, and she's coming to do the investigation as to how far we reach, and coming for an assessment on what next materials we need to do what, which will be given to them, and then they will release the funds to the place where we have to go and get the materials. Okay? We are asking you to pray that we are successful in that. Okay, brethren? Okay, we don't have to go and fast until we are almost decimated for somebody to pay attention. But the grace of God is with us and in helping us. What do you say? And we thank God, as bad as the government is, that it is this government, it took this government to help us. What do you say? Right? So we are still very thankful to that. Okay? Alright? Because in the end, the long run of government, it's really just to protect your rights and freedoms. What do you say? So we're still thankful to God that they have pushed their hands out to help us more than any other before, okay? Remember, under the previous administration, they were to help us for years. They didn't help us. This government now came into power, took our document and said, well, wait now. This was supposed to be done years ago. Get ready, we're going to help you. And they started to help. Amen, brethren? So we are still very thankful. What do you say? Okay, we are anti-sin, not anti-government. What do you say? Remember these things well. Okay, brethren? Alright? And we need help again for the church building. We are asking you to give your help. We need funds. We need labor. We are asking you to give your help, give your labor. Some more things to see about up there. You play the part with the restroom and so on is now being called more for blocks. Alright, so that we will have a restroom there for those who may get sick and others who may get problems and so on. The place is being fixed up. Okay, my dear friend? Right, so we're still asking for your help, okay? Please let us stand. Please let us pray. Loving Father in heaven, we thank you for all these things that you've shown us. The horrible things that have been going on all over the world. You want to show us that time is late and the end is near. And we need to prepare for the end. We need to make sure we have the core gospel, the real gospel, the true gospel. Please help us to be sincere enough to search up scriptures for ourselves, that we may be able to present evidence that we know the pure core of the gospel. Amen. Grant each and every one in this room, Father, this exercise and this experience and understanding, that they may show they know the core center, active center of this great, beautiful gospel that you have given to us. Yes. A loving Father, we ask of you to help us to gain the help from government to continue with the building, that we may finish it and that we may be able to inhabit it and have wonderful plans in store to be fulfilled in this building. Yes. Loving Father, also, we ask of you to bless us and grant unto us security from all harms, trouble, dangers, and accidents as we travel, but also to help our brethren in Pakistan to be prosperous spiritually as they go out to win people for your kingdom and for your cause all over Pakistan. Bless them, loving Father, and help them to be successful. Help us also to be successful in our work as we work to reach other people with the truth. And so, loving Father, we thank you for hearing us and blessing us and granting us all these wishes and the close of the 7th day. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Amen.